So let me get this straight, Mr. Speaker. Some crazy guy on the left tries to assassinate President Trump, and it's Republicans' fault? That's what we just heard. Next thing they're going to say is, oh, some crazy guy on the left tries to assassinate President Trump, and it's President Trump's fault. Oh, wait a minute. They said that too. This is ridiculous.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Red State Journal. Today, we're diving into a heated exchange between Jim Jordan and Jerry Nadler over the presidential security bill. So, what's the fuss all about? During a debate on the Enhanced Presidential Security Act of 2024, Jim Jordan took Jerry Nadler to task over his comments on gun violence. Nadler claimed that LAX gun laws make it easier for dangerous individuals to get firearms, putting the Secret Service at risk. He pointed fingers at Republicans, accusing them of weakening gun regulations and blocking efforts to control weapons. But Jordan wasn't having any of it.
The gentleman is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, H.R. 9106, the Enhanced Presidential Security Act of 2024, requires the Secret Service to apply the same standards for determining the number of agents required to protect presidents, vice presidents, and major presidential and vice presidential candidates. It also directs the Secret Service to conduct a review of the provision of protection provided to these individuals and to report its findings and recommendations to Congress. I support this legislation to ensure that the Secret Service has the tools, resources, and procedures necessary to keep our highest elected officials and candidates safe, which is critical to our democratic system of government. But in advancing this legislation, Republicans are hoping to distract from the common denominator in every successful assassination of a U.S. president, as well as the attempted assassination of President Reagan and the attempted assassination of former presidents and presidential candidates Theodore Roosevelt and Donald Trump. In every single one of these events, the weapon used was a gun. The fact is that the work of the Secret Service is made infinitely more difficult by our lax gun laws. But this Congress, the Republican majority, has repeatedly sought to further weaken our gun laws, endangering our children, our law enforcement officers, our communities, and even their own presidential candidate. Last year, after a mass shooter killed 6 people, including 3 children, at a school in Nashville, Republicans fought to make sure everyone could continue to acquire the accessory that shooter used in circumvention of the National Firearms Act. Earlier this year, our Republican colleagues cheered as the Supreme Court, stacked with Republican nominees, struck down the regulation of bump stocks, allowing the accessory used in the deadliest mass shooting in U.S. history to again be available to the public without even a background check. When the Senate tried to bring up legislation to again regulate bump stocks, Senate Republicans blocked it. Similar legislation in the House has just one Republican co-sponsor, and the Republican majority has refused to advance it. Just today, Republicans used their control of the Judiciary Committee to advance a bill that would weaken the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, reinvigorate the black market for guns, and reopen the online and private sale loophole. That legislation would make it so that convicted felons, domestic abusers, and other dangerous persons who are prohibited from possessing a gun could easily get one without a background check. And it would make it so that unlicensed sellers could once again profit from endangering our communities. And it doesn't stop there. Not only have they sought to unravel our gun laws through legislation and our courts, but our Republican colleagues have also sought to defund the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, the primary agency tasked with enforcing our gun laws, including by helping state and local enforcement and local law enforcement solve violent crimes and keep guns out of the wrong hands. The cumulative effect of these efforts is clear. We know from headline after headline that it is far too easy for violent individuals to get a gun and end a life, or many lives, in a matter of seconds. That is true whether the attacker targets school children, a domestic partner, a house of worship, or a presidential candidate. The challenges faced by the Secret Service would be vastly diminished if we passed any one of our many proposals to keep guns out of the wrong hands. But over and over, Republicans have prioritized access to deadly weapons over the safety of our communities. I support this legislation because the Secret Service must be able to protect our highest elected officials and candidates. But this legislation will do nothing to make the rest of us any safer or change the fact that gun violence continues to take the lives of more than 100 Americans every single day. As Republicans yet again rush headlong towards a government shutdown, unable even to manage the most basic aspects of governing, and as they continue to oppose every action to prevent gun violence, Democrats will continue to fight to make our communities safer for every American. I nonetheless urge my colleagues to support this modest legislation, and I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman from New York reserves. The gentleman from Ohio is recognized.
So let me get this straight, Mr. Speaker. Some crazy guy on the left tries to assassinate President Trump, and it's Republicans' fault? That's what we just heard. Next thing they're going to say is, oh, some crazy guy on the left tries to assassinate President Trump, and it's President Trump's fault. Oh, wait a minute. They said that too. This is ridiculous. We have a bipartisan bill that Representative Lawler went to Democrats, worked with them on something that everyone knows needs to happen. And what does the ranking member do? Says it's Republicans' fault. And what do Democrats do? What did the left do? They say it's President Trump's fault. You cannot make this stuff up. After all that President Trump's been through, they go to that. After they spied on his campaign, after Mueller, after impeachment, after they raided his home, after they tried the crazy 14th Amendment idea, best way to beat him is not let him play the game, not let him go on the ballot. Thank goodness for the Supreme Court, which decided 9-0 that was bogus. That's what they do? I wasn't even going to talk. I was going to let Mr. Lawler, who's done the work on this, handle all this, and his remarks were totally bipartisan, not partisan at all. We were just going to let this good piece of legislation that's going to go on suspension, everyone's going to vote for, just let it happen. But no, they cannot help themselves. It's ridiculous. I yield to the gentleman from New York who is working in the proper fashion on a good piece of legislation that will protect both, as he indicated in his opening remarks, both former President Trump and Vice President Harris. That's what we want in America.
It's absurd. Jordan argued that blaming Republicans for incidents like the attempted assassination of President Trump was beyond comprehension. He slammed Democrats for politicizing the issue, accusing them of unfairly blaming Trump and Republicans for every tragedy. Jordan didn't stop there. He highlighted that the legislation is bipartisan, aimed at protecting both President Trump and Vice President Harris. His frustration was palpable, as he expressed concerns over the constant politicization by Democrats. This fiery debate underscores the intense divide in Congress over security and gun control. As always, stay tuned to the Red State Journal for more updates on this evolving story. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. See you next time.